everybody, good afternoon, good morning, or wherever you are in the world, what time of the day it is for you. Welcome back to my studio. It's lovely to have you here again. My name is Emma. If you haven't met me before, hello, welcome to my channel. If you've only just found me, fantastic. A very warm welcome to you. Where do we start? Well, first I usually start with the weather, don't I? And I have to say today it's exceptional weather out there, so I'm quite pleased to be in the cool in here. I think we're just having this incredible heat wave at the moment again, and I hope for you that you're able to keep cool wherever you are if it's really hot, and that you won't be too incommoded by it. Goodness me, who would have thought? For Cumbria this is exceptional weather really, because we just don't do this kind of thing very often. We've had this twice in this year now, which is very exciting in its own way. Bearing in mind that it's September, who knew it could be September so quickly? I can't believe that I've been on holiday and come back and given you a film last week, and here we are again back in the studio for some more fabric extravaganzas. So lovely to have you here, as I say. Thank you for your beautiful comments on my film last week. It was such a pleasure to make that film and to go on holiday knowing I had this little secret that I was going to just make this little film. I hope it might inspire you. I appreciate that actually going out enjoying outside of your home can be a little bit daunting. It's something I've kind of done over the years, but I tend to do it in a little corner like this. I don't really do it where there's lots and lots of people around. Although I have to say there was one or two people went past me as I was standing there, either with my camera or with my sketchbook, and thinking, well, what are they thinking about I'm doing? I don't really care anymore. I've reached a stage in my life where I just think, well, if I want to do this thing, I'm just going to jolly well do it, because it brings me pleasure, and that's what the most important thing is. More and more in my life, this is my philosophy, more and more, my philosophical corner, more and more in my life, I am choosing to please myself. Now, obviously, job-wise, I get to choose what I do because I've got this thing going on here, and I'm very much able to choose what I work and what and how I work and what I do and such like. So I'm very grateful for that, hugely. But also in like my spare time, if you like, in my downtime, I'm choosing more and more to do what pleases me. And I've said before about, like, you know, ignoring the dishes while I go and do something fun for myself, even if it's just sitting in the garden. And I think particularly at the moment it's been so beautiful. I had my breakfast outside this morning. It's September here, and it's just this, you can feel the shift into autumn, but it's not here yet. There's a great deal of peace and quiet in the air, which I think is lovely. So after my breakfast I just had my smoothie in the garden. I just sat there and looked at everything. Our garden is pretty overgrown, it's pretty wild. People would think it's a right mess, probably. Some people might think it's a big old mess, but we've grown into it. I've stopped fighting it. I've stopped fighting the things I can't fight, and I think that's in my life as well, really. The garden represents that, if you like. I used to try and do battle with the ground elder and the bindweed and all those things, and now I just look at them and appreciate them. I think the bindweed flowers are so beautiful. I don't have to look after it really, I just let nature do it, and I might go in and pull out a few bits and bobs, or I might just slash bits back with my scythe or something like that. But as I say, more and more I'm feeling like if I please myself, if I'm happy and comfortable with what I'm doing, and I allow myself time off to do the things I really want to do, then I will be happier, and that will feed out into other people, those people around me, you know. So anyway, that's my thoughts on, you know, life. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the planet, and I think being able to be peaceful and harmonious with yourself, whatever's going on, that's the main thing. So I hope you're all well. I hope you're enjoying your summer, the last of September, as I say, or possibly going into sort of, you'll be going into spring in Australia or something. That'll be the next thing for you, and then heading into your summer while we head into winter. So wherever you are in the world, I hope you're happy and comfortable today. We're going to get on with some lovely work on this fabric, this new fabric piece. I'm feeling refreshed, having been away from it. I think it does you good to step away from things, doesn't it, and come back with a new eye and a fresh approach to it. So I'm looking forward to getting on with that. I wanted to show you these. These are my fabulous new trousers. I'm feeling very arty today. They're so loose and comfortable to wear when it's hot, and I'm just loving the colours. I'll show you them in a second. I bought them for me. They're a treat. I've got a lot of very old clothes going on at the moment in my wardrobe. They're getting more and more raggy and shaggy, and I've been repairing my jeans for like several years now, and I feel gradually what I want to do is try and replace things in my wardrobe and get some new things going on. And yeah, so that's been my fun treat for myself this last few weeks. So I think let's go and get on with this piece. Let's go over to my table and we'll just have a close look at it and see what we're going to do next. Okay, so here it is laid out on my table, and I'm sorry you can't see the whole of it at the moment, but we'll just work on different bits and I'll show you what I've been coming up with, okay? So I think last time I was showing you these little tiny bits of fragmenty little bits of lace and stuff that I had in from other projects, and I was just messing about with the idea of putting some of these kind of here and there on here to add some more texture, and I think some of them will work better than others. And some green, because I don't know yet whether these are going to need a stalk going up or whether we're just going to keep them as loose little flowers and see. So I didn't know whether I was just going to keep these as sort of just loose flowers or whether we're going to actually do stalks. I think I want it to be sort of like as though it's the undergrowth, as though almost as though it's a hedgerow. Having shown you my film last week, that's kind of inspired me a little bit to change up a little bit what I'm doing and kind of create more texture in it and just see what we can come up with. My other thinking, my other big sort of shift in this is I decided this was very, very flat, and I've kind of gone off being very flat. I've done a lot of very flat pieces earlier in this year, and I've decided I feel I need to get back to my texture. So these are very flat down, obviously, because I've embellished them, and what the idea I've come up with is to actually create some second layers, which is something I've kind of done in the past. But not for a little while, and I'm thinking, well, you can then be adding these onto some of these lovely pieces. I mean, this is just me playing around, okay? This is just me testing out possibilities here. But you could be adding, I feel as though it might need a lighter colour perhaps underneath to, you know, depending on where you put this. See, that works quite well there. And obviously that's not quite the right size for everything. But I just feel as though I kind of want to be creating something with a bit more lift to it, a bit more texture, as though it's more got of a 3D kind of quality. You know, when you're standing looking at a hedgerow and all of these things are kind of right there with you, that's kind of the feeling I want to get. You know, when you see the bumblebee just buzzing around and you can see the depth of the flowers, I feel as though that's kind of where I want to go with this. So there's lots more playing to be done, but once I've come up with that as an idea, that's then I've got to then work with that and see how that's going to work in reality. So this is just a little piece of cotton curtain interlining. Get my teeth in, and then I've just embellished a few bits of fragments on there. And as I say, that's not the right size necessarily. And the other thing I've got is some other, I don't know whether I wanted to add some other pieces of pinky fabrics in. I've got some little bits of lace here, which could be quite nice added into the mix. I also didn't know whether I want to add some sort of different shades in to give a bit more interest to the piece. So I think there's lots more playing to be done with all of these lovely fabrics. So I think that's really what I need to get on with next, is just starting to play with creating this extra layer and what sort of colours it's going to be and how I'm going to make it so that you don't see this bit, but you just have the edges to go on and then sort of either embellish them or stitch them. So more playing to be done. Let's get on with that. Alright, so I'll be honest, it's now another day. It's a few days later since I was last down in my studio. I had to go off and do other things. And as you know, I was looking at adding flowers to this, and I was thinking I would work on these bits next and do some extra layers for this, but I feel as though this almost needs to be kind of the last thing I do, in a way that I really want to add some more texture into the surface. Perhaps not quite like this, but of that ilk. So somebody asked me a lovely question, which was about my sketchbook drawings, and did they did they feed into my work? And I kind of answered that actually they do and they don't. That it's not necessarily a direct feed, but it might well be that for example, I felt like I was in these hedgerows drawing, and you get this really lovely feeling of the hedgerows when you're actually there drawing them, looking at, just standing there for like 10 minutes drawing something. You get really up close and personal rather than just walking past it and going, ooh, that's a lovely bit of hedgerow. I was actually kind of in the hedgerow. I was part of the hedgerow. I was looking at the insects and the butterflies and the bees and stuff. And So my answer really is that yes, it will feed in, but it's feeding in a feeling. It's changed what I want to do with this piece. It's made me want to make it much more textured, give it more depth, I think is the word I'm looking for, is depth. So I'm just fiddling around, and I'll tell you what, I'll just put those to one side a minute. Those are my little bits that I already had out. So what I've done is I've gone and got another basket of stuff to look at, okay? So I've got these lovely textured bits and bobs. Some of them I already had out, but there's some really lovely colours here. I feel as though it's quite a soft and gentle piece, this. And then obviously the zing comes in with this. I feel as though it's kind of light and shadow, light and shade. It's a bit like life, isn't it? It's full of light and shade. So I feel as though there's these really light areas and then there's this kind of darker area. It's not completely dark, but it's dark enough to make a slight contrast there. So I'm just going to fiddle around with lots and lots of little bits like this and see how it begins to develop. It's kind of a scary bit because I've actually got to do it. I need to start, you know, cutting up bits of fabric, and I'm just going to embellish and see how it goes. So you've got these lovely little bits which will add, you know, you can add them on and they can cross over the different layers. And it adds light as well, because these are quite shiny, some of them, that add a bit of light to the situation as well. I do love these shades. I think they're very kind of calming, very peaceful, a bit like the feeling I had when I was out sketching was just enormously peaceful. It was such a tranquil little thing to do. And I think spending time like that, focusing on something outside of myself, you know, just calms everything down, doesn't it? It was lovely. So I encourage you, you know, even if you don't think you're a great sketcher, even if you don't think you're the world's greatest artist, I think drawing is a really lovely thing to do. Or something else that floats your boat. I do think that, as I say, the creativity of it doesn't necessarily feed directly into something. It doesn't necessarily produce an outcome from it, but it's all feeding you, feeding your soul and nourishing you, whether you're going and doing a little workshop or something that's different, something you've never done before, creatively speaking. And for me, I think drawing is just, because it's different to doing this, it's a different outlet, and I've become more confident, I will be honest, down the years. I've become more confident at doing it, and knowing that my drawing is my drawing. This was a huge revelation a couple of years ago, that this was my way of drawing, because I used to watch all these people on YouTube doing amazing big splashy things and drawing with huge sticks on great big pieces of paper. And I did try, you know, I've tried to do that, but it's just not me. It's really not me. So I've come back to the idea that actually what I do is right for me, and that's okay. And I love and appreciate what other people do. And other people's work can be really inspiring to you, and you can go, ooh, how exciting is that? But actually, you don't have to necessarily do it that way. So I will say, watching me, if you're watching me, you know, please, this is just what I do. You don't have to do anything I do. You don't have to do it the same. We're all different. We're all got our own talents and abilities. And that's what makes it exciting, isn't it? So I'm going to keep cutting up some of these pieces, and we'll just see where that takes us. So this is starting to become exciting. I'm building up a few different ideas here, and it'll all take the time it'll take. It's going to be a slow process, but I am so excited to be back also doing textured pieces. I know some of you probably thought I was completely off my trolley earlier in the year when I was doing those very flat pieces with loads and loads of stitching, and some of them even looked completely bonkers and just, you know, but I was allowing my intuition to have free reign, was my idea of that, and it did, and it came out with some very interesting, intriguing things. But what I've decided now is what I need is a balance of intuition plus my own free choices, if you like, my decisions, my choices, and putting the two together is my intention going forward. So I'm quite excited about this. As I say, the text is definitely coming back on stream, which I'm loving, because that's one of my favourite things about doing textiles is the gorgeous textures you can have. And this lovely material. I mean, some of these are just going to be so much fun to work with. So I think that's it for this week, guys. I'm going to just finish here and look forward to seeing you all next time in my studio. Thank you so much for your company here. It means the world to me, it really does. And if you're inspired or even just, you know, enjoy watching my videos, that's absolutely wonderful. Please do leave me a comment. I just really love to hear from you. It really makes my day when somebody connects with me, especially if you're across the other side of the world. I find that amazing, you know. I do. I find that incredible. So even after all these years of the internet, I just love it when people connect with me. It's just brilliant. So there we go, that's it for now. I'm going to carry on cutting and I'll get started with some embellishing and start pulling this piece together. And I look forward to seeing you again in my studio next week. Thank you so much for your company. Bye for now.
Ba ba da ba 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 ba.